Hi guys, welcome to Car Focused. You join me somewhere near Royal Leamington Spa. I'm at a day with Hyundai testing out various cars, and with me here is the IONIQ 5. This is a very futuristic looking car, a full EV from Hyundai. This particular one is the ultimate. It's about 305 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in the low fives, around 5.1. So quite similar in terms of performance to the Mustang Mach-E that I had and reviewed very recently. So I'm going to go for a quick drive and we'll just talk about the comparisons, how this stacks up against the Ford, and just see what it's like to drive overall. But before we do that, we'll take a quick look around the outside of the car and then we'll hop in and go for a drive. So we'll do a quick walk around of the IONIQ 5. Very futuristic looking machine. So to start with here, it's always a good time when you've got some nice Michelin tyres on there. These are huge 20-inch alloy wheels as well. I like the paint on this. It's kind of a flip between blue and green. It's quite a nice touch. But yeah, just a very futuristic looking car overall. Quite a different car to the Mach-E in many respects, particularly in terms of looks. This is kind of like if you asked somebody from the 1980s to design a car from 2020. I think they draw something like this. Almost reminds me of the DeLorean from the Back to the Future. But yeah, what do you think to this, guys? Very different sort of looking machine, isn't it? Particularly from the back. Just this huge LED strip bar along the back there. And while we're at the back, we'll have a quick look in the boot. Quick look in the boot. So quite a decent sized boot. It seems a little bit bigger than the Mach-E, a little bit deeper. Still very shallow. You lose a lot of room in these electric cars due to batteries and motors, etc. But not too bad. And a very, very spacious cabin inside. Again, like the Mach-E, it's got a flat floor. There's no transmission tunnel, so loads of room in there. Have a quick look inside. So you've got these door handles here which bring themselves out so you can gain access easily. And yeah, just a very clean, simplistic looking interior. All this room down here, plenty of storage space here. There aren't really too many storage cubbies. You've got one there, you've got one there, and then you've got some quite small door bins actually. And then the glove box is a reasonable size, but yeah, there aren't actually many individual cubbies, but you do have a lot of overall space. And in the back, again, very spacious. Just very, very simple, clean design in this car. Oh, and also, your seats in the back are heated as well, which is a nice touch. Yeah, so your rear seat passengers can have some nice warm bottoms. Right, so here we are inside the IONIQ 5. Oh, I like these blue lights that light up around the Bose speakers there. They're pretty cool. So, nice futuristic looking cabin. This is quite different to the Mach-E in that it's kind of flipped around on its side. The Mach-E is portrait in terms of the infotainment, but this is a nice landscape. There's a bit more going on here as well. You've got a separate area for the climate and you've got a separate area for the sat-nav and the instrument cluster as well. So to put it into drive, there's a stalk here where you'd probably normally find your wipers and stuff. It's actually underneath the wipers. We'll go into drive and we shall begin. Now what I like about this car, straight out the box, is your drive mode selection button. It just makes switching drive modes very easy. You don't have to fiddle around with the computer. You literally just press the button. You've got Eco, Normal and Sport. Now I'm going to go in Normal initially, just to see what that's like. And yeah. So it feels incredibly, it's almost echoing in here, it's so spacious. Yeah, it feels huge in here. The window is excellent visibility. These pillars here are quite thin as well, so it is very light and airy in here. But yeah, it's weird, it is almost echoey. We've got no panoramic roof on this, which we did have in the Mach-E, so bit of a -1 for me there. We've got a heads-up display in this car, and it's displaying the speed and the sat-nav and also the traffic sign recognition system. Now in terms of range, this car is said to deliver just under 300 miles. Now I'm not going to have time to do any real test of the range, so I'm not really too sure, but we've got 83% in here, so there's going to be plenty of battery for me to do this drive without any charging. Talking of charging as well, what I do like is the charging flap. You just press a button and the charging flap will open electronically, and then to close it, you'll press a button and it will close electronically as well. So what is it actually like to drive? Well, like most EVs, it's incredibly smooth. I always notice that when I jump in an EV. Well, I say that, I've only driven the Mach-E, but that was very smooth as well. Just incredibly effortless and smooth with no drama whatsoever. So we're going to pull out of a junction here. So I'm going to go in sport. I just want to see what the initial punch is like out of a junction. So, yeah. These cars, they just amaze me how fast they are. They're just so effortlessly quick. And this is no exception. 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds in this particular car with 305 brake horsepower. It's certainly no slouch. So yeah, if you just slow down, we'll slow down, nobody behind us, and wow, you probably saw my head go back there. That wasn't exaggerated. These things just off the line, they really do go. But I want to see how this car handles, how it takes bumps, because for me, these cars, they do weigh quite a lot, around the 2-ton mark usually for an electric SUV like this. And I noticed with the Mach-E, sorry, I'm going to keep harping back to the Mach-E because this is a comparison between the two basically in my eyes. I've just had a Mach-E, so the ride in the Mach-E was very, very bumpy, whereas already in this, I can feel the ride is a lot smoother. It's noticeably different to the Mach-E. And for me, with a car like this, that's how you want it to be. You don't want to be sort of made to feel sick from the ride of the car. But yeah, so into these corners, it also feels, oh, the brakes, the brakes don't feel too great though. I think I really need to, crikey, yeah, the brake, be careful with the brakes, guys. You really do need to step on them to get them to stop. There's quite a lot of travel in the pedal, and then you will get most of the force towards the bottom of the pedal, but in terms of brake pedal assistance, there isn't much there. It's a very linear pedal, so yeah. But anyway, as I was about to say before the brakes just caught me out, the car feels actually quite light. It's quite surprising into the corners how light it actually feels. So the acceleration is effortless. Yeah, so it does feel quite flat into the corner. It does become a little bit disrupted if there are bumps through the corner. Then it does kind of almost wallow a little bit. But in terms of actual body roll, from just the corner itself, it really isn't too bad. Let's turn around in here. Also, just touching back on the tech, we've got, when you go into reverse, you've also got the 360 view. Which just helps when you're manoeuvring the vehicle, covers all angles. So I'm going to take this opportunity, guys, to do a little bit of a launch. Now I don't have my timing gear with me today, but we'll just stop here. We'll do a bit of a launch. Oh, wow! That it's brutal up to 40 miles per hour. Very brutal. I can't see many things keeping up with this to 40, to be fair. When you get past 40, it does start to ease off a little bit, as is the way with electric vehicles. But this is a bit of a weird car for me, because it doesn't really look sporty. I think it's because it's such a different looking car. Take cars, the Tesla, for example, the Mustang Mach-E. They're unique electric vehicles, but they look sporty with it, whereas this is so futuristic looking. It doesn't kind of, I don't know, it looks almost, not bland, but it's quite plain futuristic looking, if you're with me. But then you have this performance, which would match a sportier looking car. So it's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, I'd say. But yeah, very lovely car to drive. It's just the brakes for me. The brakes need to be better. Yeah. So one negative is the brakes, but in terms of the way it rides, the way it handles, what the car is. This car is also assisting me with steering. This has a level of autonomy, this vehicle. It's not fully autonomous, but it's quite strange because it's assisting me with steering into the corners. Now, I'm sure I could turn that off, but just kind of seeing what it's like to drive with it on, to be honest. Oh, this would just be so comfortable on a long road trip. I think electric cars are going to take on. People are going to warm towards them quicker than what we're anticipating. I think as soon as you drive these cars, you kind of appreciate what they're all about. And I think it's important that our infrastructure is adjusted to suit, because at the moment the infrastructure just isn't really there to cater for people bulk buying electric vehicles. So it needs to be a gradual process, the buying of electric vehicles, or the government needs to really hurry up, and we need to get more charging stations dotted around the country, particularly in remote locations. So yeah, guys, that is it. In comparison to the Mach-E, it's quite a difficult one, really. The Mach-E feels a bit more like more of a traditional vehicle that's fully electric, whereas this is kind of a whole new kind of car in terms of its looks, the autonomous features. So they are very different. Performance is quite similar. Obviously, the Mach-E is a bit more wallowy in its ride. But they both do handle quite well, and they both get you down a road very quickly. Both very roomy in the cabin. The Mustang probably loses out in terms of the boot space, but yeah, this is a nice car though, guys. If you've got a family and you want to get into the EV market, and you want to have a car that's going to get you places in comfort, that looks really cool as well, then definitely a car to consider. Anyway, guys, that is it from me and the IONIQ 5. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Bit of a whistle-stop tour. I don't have very long with the car, so I can't go full bells and whistles on the review. But yeah, that's it from me, guys. Anyway, until the next one, take care, and I shall see you soon.